I can still hear you.
Okay, we're back in business.
Cool.
All right, so tell us a little bit about, well, let's find out first of all how you got to where you are.
Yeah. So I started with GE back in 2012 as a co-op. So I did the co-op program at Lehigh and did a couple different jobs at GE, working mostly in engineering and supply chain as my undergraduate degree was in mechanical engineering. Um, Through those internships, I talked to a lot of people, even outside of engineering. So I talked to people in finance. I talked to other hiring managers, other managers of kids in that program, so that I built that network out. And they understood what I was working on, who I was as a person, kind of built those relationships. Take people out to lunch, that kind of thing, just so you can really get your name out there. Because when it comes down to hiring season, you want the most people who know you, who can vouch for you, to say yes when you're actually getting hired. So that's really what it came down to back in, I did my mechanical engineering degree. I did my master's in finance. And then when I was interviewing, went into the program, and, it was all those people that knew me from my internships, knew me, did side projects with them where possible, and really had that network that was able to support me as I was interviewing for these jobs. And my first job it's called the Operations Management Leadership Program at GE. And it was really focused on kind of supply chain and kind of a mix of supply chain and business, working to source products, working to build, in my case, GE Transportation. So we were building locomotive engines. And so that was my first job out of program here. Then using kind of a similar method, we had to get sponsors to get onto corporate audit staff, which is what I did next. And so I worked with a bunch of different executives within GE so that I was able to develop that network, but also understand kind of what the hiring process was to get onto corporate audit staff, what kind of questions they would ask in the interview, what kind of case studies that they would have me do, and then practice those with as many people as possible so that I was able to have a good understanding of what they were looking for, understand how to answer the questions, and really make a good impression. And then, like I said, it's all those people that you talk to, all those people that you work with and develop that relationship with that ultimately are there saying, yes, we should hire that person. And so really making those connections was the best way to go about that. So have been with corporate audit staff for the last 2 years at GE. And really it's a lot of internal auditing and, projects around risk for the company, kind of strategic roles, looking at how we should move the company forward. And then lastly, right now, I'm about to be starting actually a portfolio risk role for GE Gas Power. And so I'll be looking at our service contracts and understanding the risk associated with them, and working to develop our commercial processes and how we sign those contracts and how we understand when we want new contracts and exit the current contracts that we're in.
Why GE though? I mean, why did you pick? Because you wanted to move out of the area, or?
That's a good question. So it started off with GE from my engineering. They have very good engineering programs, but they also have an excellent finance program and a finance leadership opportunities that help develop you across multiple businesses, across multiple fields within the business. So on my time on corporate audit staff, it was primarily focused on corporate finance, but we looked at risk of contracts. We looked at account balances. I got to really understand kind of how a business ran and operated. And that was really what attracted me to be at GE. Being able to learn not just one specific role, but kind of a holistic view of how supply chain, finance, and the business as a whole ran together.
Okay. And you're interested in working in banks or anything like that?
Not as much. I think with the 2 degrees for me, I had the most value to give at kind of a manufacturing business having understood a little more of the finance side from the analytical program, as well as the engineering side and how to manufacture these products, I was able to kind of bring it all together and really make an impact at the business.
Yeah, because everybody wants to be a quant here, right? So
Yep. Yeah. And a lot of the skills I learned in that program really helped me actually in my job. You learn a lot of, first time I touched VBA, first time I really had a lot of use in MATLAB was through the quant program. And I've used those programs extensively in my time at GE, which has really helped me develop sustainable and simple solutions for a lot of problems that they have through the process of corporate finance.
And what happened to the other students that were with you? What did they end up? Are you keeping up with the other?
I keep up with a couple of them. Most of the other kids have gone to banks. So they've gone and done banking roles. They've gone and done quant roles, mostly in New York City. Some have gone back to China, but yep.
Any questions?
It took a slightly different route than most of my.
Everybody thinks banking, but as you could see, he works for GE, which everybody knows about. So there's, and how did what you learn in the MFE program? What are some of the courses that you think helped you the most to do what you're doing or what you were doing?
Yeah, so for me, a lot of the courses in business kind of helped me the most. I think it really, from engineering, it taught me a different way of looking at problems, different way of looking at a business, of understanding a business. So that really helped me a lot, as well as kind of the simple programming that we did in VBA and MATLAB, because I've been able to really apply that to any of the simple math we do in kind of accounting, corporate accounting, essentially. So that's been a huge advantage because, like I said, I'm able to take those skills, develop new and faster solutions for processes that might take a week now. We're able to implement coding solutions to run a process that now takes a day or less, which has been pretty incredible and helped the business out a lot. As well as some of the optimization stuff that we've done. I've used that as far as risk and analysis of some of our long-term service contracts. And so that's been a help as well.
What was your most challenging class that you took?
Most challenging class would have been the second math class, the derivatives 2 or whatever. I forget exactly what it was called, but it was in the math department. It was the second one, my second semester. That was definitely the most challenging because it was a whole new math that I had never learned, never understood. So.
You mean you just started, right? This is your first year?
No, it's my second.
Second year.
Yeah.
What would you agree with him in terms of the math classes?
Some math classes, but I think the derivative is like finance classes.
Yes, but he said he found that the math
maybe is
Random
process.
Oh, random process.
Random process.
Which is the hardest class for you right now? I heard math is random process. Did you have that course? Who's teaching that?
Who teaches that?
Eisenberg, not Heisenberg.
I probably had the class, but not with that professor.
Okay.
There's like like 2 semesters. Yeah.
Well, there's a calculus class.
They changed
That's
it up.
stochastic.
Stochastic calculus.
Yeah, the stochastic calculus.
Yeah, that's it.
No,
That was different now.
that was different now. It's going to change again soon. So, do you think we should be teaching? What some of the other courses? If we had to take away some stuff and put some stuff in there, what do you think?
So for me personally, being more on the corporate side, less on the banking quant side, the business classes, the optimization classes have been the most useful for me. Less so on the stochastic calculus and the heavy math, kind of proving out the Ito's lemma kind of thing. I haven't used. So in my mind, taking that out would be kind of less important. But also, when I think about what you need when you go into a quant role, that's probably stuff that was important. I think overall, for me, it was just a great balance of learning about business because I think I had 4 classes in the business school, 3 in the math department, and 3 in industrial engineering. And I really liked that balance. Just kind of you saw how different groups looked at problems differently. You got to learn a little bit about kind of how a business ran versus how, you know, you would solve a problem using, you know, optimization math in the industrial engineering department. And so I really like that balance of just kind of the different viewpoints from all the different departments.
Any questions? Yiming, questions?
So it's like you say that you work in the field of supply chain, right?
I did, yeah. No longer anymore, but I did for a couple of years.
Actually, so it's like you have a degree in industrial engineering, and like why you choose to work in this field? In supply.
So my 2 options were to go directly into engineering and do kind of design work. But when I was in my internships learning about that kind of work, you know, you don't really get to design a complete component. You design like one little piece of maybe a one small component of the locomotive in this case, because I was at transportation. And that didn't really interest me. What I wanted to learn more was how do we go from something on a computer, a design on a computer, to ultimately a final product. And that's what I realized was all supply chain. And so understanding how we were sourcing components, understanding how we were manufacturing, and how we were becoming better and more efficient in those processes, to me was a good foundation in a good first 2 years to understand then how that all links back up to the finances in the business and how the business runs and operates. Because ultimately you need to run your business to make a profit. But if you don't know how you're making your products, where you're getting your material from, it's hard to understand what levers you need to pull to be able to drive that profit up.
So that core base in supply chain was really the foundation and helped me excel when I actually got into the corporate audit staff and looked at how we were running those different how we were rolling up the financials, how we were verifying the balances, how we were improving the processes. You know, all that stuff was really based on ultimately how do we manufacture a product. And so that combination of understanding the product and then being able to walk up to the financials has really helped me in my career.
Okay. Yun Chong, any questions?
Hi, do you have any recommendation for us to get a summer intern in this semester?
Yeah, so I think Professor Zorro here probably says it all the time, network. Reach out to past alumni, go into New York City and have lunch, have dinner with old alumni. It's honestly the best way, because if you don't have someone in the company or someone pulling your resume to the top, I mean, these jobs will have hundreds and hundreds of applications. And so the one way to make your resume stand out is to have someone else say, hey, make sure you look at this resume, or make sure you look at this person or talk to this person. Just having that person on the inside is absolutely the easiest way to get a job. And it's on how I've worked my way through GE, is always having someone who's in that position or has an influence on the position I'm looking to get, saying, hey, make sure you look at Andrew, make sure you talk to him, make sure you pull that resume and you're considering them for the job. Because without that, it's very hard to distinguish yourself out of those hundreds and hundreds of applicants.
Yuha, question. That's it.
So, hi.
Loud, speak loud.
Since we just have the GPA of one semester, how could we write the GPA of our first semester on a ratio? We just use the GPA of our undergraduate?
So I always put my undergraduate GPA as well as the GPA of my semester. I mean, I think when you look at, and I don't know what you did as an undergrad, but for me, it was always, you know, this was what I did over the course of the whole term. That's why I always kept my undergraduate GPA on there. But when you're looking at specifically, if you want to go into quant, what's most applicable is going to be however much you've done of this program. So putting that on there is, I think, a way of showing, hey, I am doing well in this program. This is what I have. This is where I'm at. I mean, if it's not a very good GPA, maybe you don't. But I think ultimately it's that network that's going to really help you pull that up. So even if it's an okay GPA or whatever, put it on there, and then go make a difference by meeting with those people, understanding kind of what the job is, talking with them, selling yourself to them, so that they know that you're more than a number on a page. Because I think that's going to be the differentiator, not the number.
From last week, from the person that worked at SEI, is that, if you want to get a quant job, right?
Yeah.
You need to start as soon as you start school, literally, because it takes a while. The problem is that they tend to be very detail oriented, right? Justin.
Yeah.
You.
I have an interview.
Yeah. Did you get that?
I'm not.
Oh, okay. Because I don't know, it was Janice. Janice, when you went to New York, I keep thinking you came with us and you did. When Janice went to New York, another guy who could make it today, they were asking questions that he hasn't covered yet because he just started.
Yeah.
So the thing is, well, then you have to start looking for the job later on during the year. But by that time, the time has already passed. It's tough to get the interview and then get the job quickly. And that's why I have the working, because then the people know you already. And it's not that difficult. It's okay, you know what? We know the program. We know you haven't studied yet, but we'll give you a shot. But if you're like among the thousands of other people, they're going to tell me what that formula is. You don't know what the formula? Next. Right? So,
Exactly.
Again, Kabuki, what do you think? Question from my friend.
Hi.
Hey.
What's your advice for us, to work for a financial department of a manufacturing company? Because do we need to have those, specific background? Like you were engineering major when you were undergraduate, right? And then you went to the program.
Yep.
So that skills, that knowledge. So do we need to have those backgrounds to work for a manufacturing company?
No. So I would say no. And I have a lot of friends who have never worked in supply chain, never done anything on the shop floor. I think the key is to make sure that you're willing to put in the time to understand the basics of the business. Make sure that when you go into that interview, understand how you'd roll up financials from, when you're buying a product, a subcomponent from a supplier, all the way up through to then the final, and you're recognizing revenue on your final product. As long as you're able to do that kind of walk, you're going to do fine in the interviews. You're going to be able to talk their language. And then from there, it's just making sure you have an open mind. You're willing to learn the basics, learn the understanding of the business, and go from there.
Kian, Sam. Yes.
Actually, I wanted to ask the same question.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure you did. Yanko, you want to say something? You want to ask him a question?
Hi. You said you are in Atlanta now, right?
Sorry, can you speak up a little bit?
You are in Atlanta now, right?
Yeah, correct.
I wonder how you decide which city you work in. If you prefer a city and find a job there, or you have had a job and you have to go there.
So I typically have the job, and I go to whatever city that job is in. For GE, as an example, I've worked in Erie, Pennsylvania. I've worked in Grove City, Pennsylvania. I've worked in Paris, France, Florence, Italy, Atlanta, and in Dubai and Budapest. So I've been fortunate to travel all over the world. but it's always whatever job is needed. I'm going to that city wherever it is. So I've not been very picky. I do have friends that are say like, hey, I want to be in Atlanta, I want to be in Cincinnati. But you start limiting yourself with the opportunities, and that's not something I've wanted to do. I think it's important, especially while I'm young and able to move, to say, hey, when there's a job that I like, that I think will help me grow in my career and my goals, to make sure I go take that job.
That's something that comes to the program, because look at you. I mean, it's not just a bunch of bankers. You're also in GE, but more importantly, you're able to travel. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the degree, if it's used properly, can open lots of different doors. Not necessarily quant jobs in New York City working for a bank.
Yep.
Your skills could be used many other places. And I think it's time to expand a little bit, because you're basically taking the same class that this guy is taking.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's lots of opportunities with this degree. So.
Cool, you want to ask a question?
No.
You just started, so you know what's going on. Juma, you want to say something?
No.
Any questions, nothing? Justin, before we let this guy go, do you have any questions for him? Let's get it out. This time is expensive. It's free right now, so.
What's one specific skill that you didn't learn that you really wish that you knew going into like trying to get jobs?
I mean, to be honest, I wish I networked more. I mean, I did a lot of it, but, I honestly, when I first started my career, I definitely undervalued the networking side of getting a job. I truly wish I networked more, built a better base. And I think also part of that is maintaining it, reaching out every now and then, just saying, hey, giving them an update, seeing what they're up to. Especially when it's people that are similar, maybe 5-6 years ahead of me in their career. But those are the people that are really going to also help me get the jobs that I want next, because they're in them now, they're going to be promoted, they're going to be pulling people up. So I really do wish I networked more, and like I said, kept up with those contacts as well.
So Andrew, I'll let you go. Two things. If you have any kind of internship that you hear of from GE coming in either locally or in Connecticut or whatever, let me know. We're also looking for projects. I think I sent you that, right?
Yep.
So if you know, yes.
Yeah, I'll definitely let you know. At GE, our projects are definitely less quant focused and more, corporate finance focused. So if you're into that, I'll definitely take a look and send some stuff over. And absolutely, if there's any internships jobs, I'll reach out and let you know for sure.
Thank you.
And if you guys have any other questions, I am available. Patrick has my information, so just reach out and I'll have to chat.
Them your email.
Awesome.
Okay. Thanks, Andrew.
No problem. Have a great day, guys. Enjoy your weekend.